Greetings of the day. This is Anita Dakamari. I have 18 years of experience in cybersecurity, mostly into application security, some into network security. I'm also an active volunteer contributor mentor at different organizations like IC2, ISACA, Women in Cybersecurity, CSA, and I'm also mentor in Women for Cyber UK groups. Today, we're going to talk about why and how metrics are important and what are the types of metrics that can be implemented in security, cybersecurity teams to help to measure cybersecurity programs in their organizations. Without further delay, let's get started. So, as I mentioned, security metrics helps to measure security posture of an organization or a program or a product or a project. So let's see how and why metrics really matters. So, most of time when you talk to a business leader, they talk about, budgets, reputations, operational stabilities, and they also talk about, how this product is going to bring the revenue. And when you talk to the cybersecurity teams, they talk about often vulnerabilities, risk, and impact. So when you're trying to explain something to your board, your board members or your executive leadership, you cannot explain saying like, "Hey, we have this critical finding." For example, let's take like we have this NPM security package, and if that package get hacked, and we have like 300 dependencies that is going to impact. This is all too technical. So we need to have something that will translate the technical aspect of security into the business risk so that leaders can adopt it and understand the impact better. So metrics also proves we can take decisions proactively instead of reactive. Let's take that example, supply chain risk, which I was talking earlier about. Shai Hulud, one of those biggest attack in a supply chain recently. When that happened, like if you know that already, like, hey, we have this all the software packages those are related to NPM in your environment, and if you know that those are very critical and those are obsolete versions of software, you can work on proactive and fix them before something happens, really, before someone trying to attack it. Metrics also helps to prove security is not a expensive. It is not definitely an expense category. It is an investment. Without metrics, security is always treated as a cost center. For example, you get some budget and you have to convert that budget to show that using this budget, these many tools, these many solutions we have got into our environment and we have used it to make better of our environment, to make it robust, make it securely safe. Metrics will help to the return of investment on the teams and the solutions that we purchased. And metrics also helps to measure the continuous improvement. For example, last year you have like 2,000 critical findings, and this year you have only 500 findings. That means all your teams together work to fix those 1,500 findings. So that is how you can measure that the security is getting stronger in the organization. As we're talking about metrics, there are a lot many types of security metrics. We're not going to discuss today all of them, but we're going to talk about the coverage metrics, threats and vulnerability, operational metrics, compliance governance, IAM based, and executive board metrics. I'm not trying to say these are the only metrics that you have to use. These are the, some types of metrics that helped organizations proven that improved the posture of the applications and infrastructure. Let's take first one, coverage metrics. So if you one of your board member came and asking, hey, how many of these critical findings actually have been, fixed? You say like 500 fixed. And if they ask a question, okay, 500 fixed on how many assets, how many servers, or how many applications. So making sure, your vulnerability scan, your security scans covering entire infrastructure, entire applications is very important. You every small or medium or a large organizations must have this log monitoring coverage to make sure that who is looking around, who is poking around our infrastructure, our network. So making sure that our log and monitoring solutions integrated with entire infrastructure also equally important. The same way, making, getting a coverage metrics of how many patch systems we are doing every month, how many incidents we are handling every quarter or every year, and how many accounts we have, how many users we have, and how many of those users actually got the privileged access. So coverage metrics speaks about the entire infrastructure, entire application portfolio, and entire cloud infrastructures of the organization, that how the security teams are covering under the security scanning, how they are trying, tracking that coverage. For example, hey, we have 8,000 endpoints 2 years ago, and this year after optimization we are got into like 4,000 endpoints. So you're making sure you scanned 2 years ago 8,000 endpoints, and now you're also making a point that you're scanning all the 4,000 endpoints. So coverage metrics give you a confidence that everything is covered under the protection. The next one is threats and vulnerability metrics. These metrics, very important. So security teams, including application security teams or your infrastructure security scanning teams, your cyber defense teams or your SOC analyst teams, all the teams, the only one job is to find the vulnerabilities, find the risk, find security threats. So when you find those things every day, every week, every year, over the years, you have to measure, like, how many total vulnerabilities we have found in particular this year or this time period. How many new vulnerabilities came? What are the trends? Like, hey, you see, like, last year, last month we had total number of critical findings are 100, but this month those are like 200 because we have so many new servers, net new infrastructure being added to our infrastructure, or we have done a new change that brought actually new software or packages into our environment which got new vulnerabilities. So measuring how many vulnerabilities we have found, trends over the vulnerabilities week by week or month by month, whatever it helps you and your organization, and a measuring average time that has been taken to fix vulnerabilities. Everything will help to show to the board or to the executive leadership or even for yourself to measure. Okay, being a security team, last year we had this many X number of findings, and this year this many, like, Y number of findings. So this is a good work done in between X and Y to remediate, fix those critical findings. And also you can also get not only vulnerabilities, like, if you have any phishing stimulations, you can get those trends saying, like, hey, in a couple months ago we had so many people who actually fallen for this phishing stimulations, but after the trainings, user awareness training, now they're actually reduced. So threats and vulnerabilities and trends and SLA metrics, especially SLA metrics. When I say SLA metrics, you find, when I say you, security teams find vulnerabilities to make sure those get fixed, remediated before attackers get them, right? So, we cannot just, business teams, product and engineering teams have their own timelines. They're, they have their, they always behind the sprints and, adding new features. So we need, being a security organization, GRC or your compliance team will have a policy, a remediation policy saying like, hey, all the critical findings has to be fixed within 15 days. So making sure, you know, fixing within 15 days is ideally sounds good, but sometimes you will have exceptions, like, sometimes may say like this is our freeze time, like, we have a critical client onboarding, we cannot fix anything to the product now. So in that case, those findings will not be fixed. So getting those trends, how many findings fixed within the given remediation timelines, SLA timelines, month over month, and we will know where the leadership has to provide some help to get the remediation progress get better. The next one is operational metrics. If you're part of any, different cyber defense teams or SOC teams, you better know this, like, how much mean time, to detect a particular an attack. When the attacker trying to start looking into our, infrastructure network, and how much time it took. What is the mean time to detect? What is the mean time to respond or contain that particular attack to isolate from the infrastructure? And how much mean time it took to, remediate, resolve that incident? How many false positives we have, how many false negatives, alerts we have. This all will have, how your security monitoring systems are working, teams are working. For example, you had a critical production, attack incident, a month ago, and it took like 2 weeks to respond, 2 weeks to resolve. That's a lot. So since it is a production, so next time to get better, you have to tweak the process, make it little faster to make sure, like, hey, once we identify within given 20 to 40, 24 to 48 hours, we identify, we contain the, the incident, and also we, the infected server or something like that, and we, push the teams to fix it within a, like, given 72 hours. That's how you should respond to any critical, vulnerabilities, emerging vulnerabilities, especially in the era of AI. And the next one is compliance and governance metrics. These are also very important because, these are all, see, if you look into the vulnerability, the types of metrics that I'm going to talk about, everything is depend on each other, complement each other. For example, if you take threats and vulnerabilities, compliance team, they can say like, okay, so we have, 100 findings and 50 fixed and 40 in progress. 10 findings cannot be fixed. Those 10 findings has to go for an exception. So they cannot follow the remediation timeline. So how many findings are actually in the exceptions? So those are your risk metrics. And how many, we talked about coverage metrics, so how many of those actual assets are being scanned, as per your SOC 2, as per your, ISO audits. You will know that, hey, this particular product has 10 in, 10 virtual machines, 5 containers, or 20 endpoints. All those are, part of, your GDPR, ISO, or SOC 2. what are the complaints that you have in your organization. They're all part of it, and you will know how many of those being scanned, how many of those are being fixed, and what are, what cannot be fixed, and how they are in open a risk exception, all that stuff. The next one is IAM based metrics. These are the metrics people think least least considered, but for me those are very important. For example, if you don't know how many people are accessing your application, you never know who has accessed. It's very simple. If you don't know how many of your how many people has an admin level access to your application, you will never know who actually did what they did. So, you must know, hey, this particular product or this particular server has like 20 active users, but among that only two admin accounts. One is the product engineering, the other one is the infrastructure. Only two admin accounts who can do, install or, uninstall anything from that particular server. So knowing the privileged access information, accounts information, and also if someone is left the organization, how much time it is taking to terminate the access. So what is the mean time to revoke the access? And also what is the failed login attempts? What are the orphaned accounts? Very important. Like, we want to get some job done. We open some service accounts or principal accounts or admin accounts. Then we left after our job is done. So how many orphaned accounts are there? And very important, how much time, an average time of to provision the new users. So all those metrics helps to get an answer when there is a critical incident that is happening. For example, you found out one of your endpoint is being attacked, and you will know, okay, who has access to actually that particular server, because from the endpoint someone can come inside into the network and access this server, and who has a critical access to that server. So knowing that will help you to take further steps to remediate, contain. The next one is executive and board metrics. Um, Everything that we do, right? Everything, this, coverage metrics, threats and vulnerabilities, or GRC metrics, or IAM metrics, everything that we do to provide the visibility to the board members, to the executive leadership, and we wanted to provide the justification, and also we wanted to provide a picture of how the cybersecurity is helping the organization to have a strong, robust, attack-proof, environment or infrastructure or network. So, you know, we wanted to make sure we provide all that information in a numbers or in a understandable numbers, so that those metrics will build the trust between the stakeholders and the board. Next one, how to get effective for the metrics. We talked about, like, why metrics are important. We talked about how many types of metrics are there. We also talked about how each metric will work. Now we're going to talk about how to get effective metrics. You have to define objectives. That is very important for any project or any program. Excuse me. And we have to define what is our strategic goals, what we are trying to do with these metrics. Are we trying to get a justification to the investment that we made? Are we trying to make our program get better? um, um, we have to find the objective goals, and we have to tie these metrics to a business impact. For example, saying if this get fixed, these 500 servers has critical findings. If you fix it, we can make the risk from 100% to 10%. You have to show that impact, and we have to make sure We use a benchmark against industry so that this is trusted by even our clients and the external stakeholders. And also, we have to review and update the metrics that we are doing because always we have new infrastructure, new softwares, new programs, new projects, new products being added to the portfolio. So we have to make sure we have to review and update the metrics and the process. The last thing, the key takeaways from this conversation that I wanted to provide is metrics are not just numbers. If you ever thinking anyone talking about cybersecurity metrics, never think like those are just numbers because those numbers are the one that is providing a clarity, clarification, picture to your, to the stakeholders how we are doing. And if someone says metrics are not really useful, let them know that you cannot improve that you what you don't measure. And also, I wanted to make sure you understand collecting so many data is not important, but making that numbers meaningful. Like, I have like so many metrics from each system, each team. I have metrics from SOC team. I have metrics from IAM team. I have metrics from AppSec team. I have metrics from other teams, but I don't know how to use those numbers meaningful to portray the picture that I wanted to. That is a big challenge. And metrics should guide decision, not drown them. That is absolutely. And most importantly, right metrics always can turn raw data into insight, and always these insights provide actions. So that's all about metrics. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for listening to me. And this is the my LinkedIn. This is the only social media platform I exist. If you wanted to talk about more about metrics or anything related to cybersecurity, please connect with me. Thank you so much. Signing off.